What's up, Ham Radio? Kilo Echo 8, Papa Zulu November, the Ham Radio Adventure Guy. Thanks for stopping by for your one stop for everything Adventure Radio. And it is Hump Day. You know what that means. It's Hump Day Happy Hour. We got a great show tonight. We got N3VEM. We're going to be talking Pota for 2022 and pretty much everything Pota. You know how we do it around here. See the chat's already starting to fill out. What's up, Evan, Brian, John, Joseph, Steve? I see 22 Prepper in there. Great to see you guys. I wanted to show you guys something really cool. Came in the mail today. CW paddle. That's right. I'm doing just like I told you guys. You guys put the money in to buy me a coffee chat, and I have started my lessons with the Long Island CW Club. And I am very pumped about it. I've took a couple lessons so far. Got my paddle in the mail today. And things are looking great for that, man. I'm really excited. Really quick, I want to give a shout out to my latest Patreons. I appreciate you guys. And if anybody else is interested in Patreon, make sure and check it out. We're really interactive over there. What's going on, Mike? I see you out there, buddy. I knew you wouldn't miss a Pota stream. But let's get it started. Let's bring out Vance real quick and see what's going on. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Hey, good evening. It's going well. I'll since you showed off your key, maybe I can't lift mine high enough. It's the cord's too short. I've got the standard bencher that weighs like 75 pounds or something like that. So it's not a portable paddle by any stretch of the imagination. But
well, that one's probably not going to be my portable paddle. It's just something I got to sort of learn here in the shack. I will probably get even smaller than that for portable because I try to make my pack really. I mean, Pota wise, I bring out the big radio and the big everything. But I'm going to do some soda next year, and I'm trying to make my pack really, really small for that because the one I did this year like to whoop my butt because I took way too much stuff up on the mountain. Somebody watched the video and said, "How did you get all that stuff up there?" I'm like, "In my backpack, man."
In my backpack and a lot of heavy breathing.
They're like, no wonder you was breathing so hard. I'm like, well.
Nice.
But anyway,
yeah, I'm very much a now anymore I'm even myself and mostly a hunter. Most of my activating I did when I traveled a lot for work, but I've been working from home for like 4 years now. But when I traveled, I was very much like the park bench activator. Like I had all my stuff in a Pelican case because I could, it cost me a few extra bucks, but I'd just check the Pelican case with all my radio gear in it right in on the airplane, and then when I got to the other end, I drag it out to a park bench somewhere. So yeah, I was not doing any soda with my gear by any stretch.
So you would check yours and let it go into the baggage, not put it in the carry-on.
Yeah, I did both over the years, depending on how I was traveling and what I was traveling with. On my blog, I should actually dig up some of the old articles. I redid my blog recently, and so some of those old posts are hard to find. But I had actually shared a bunch of stuff about how I would travel and do my like traveling Pota. So I, over the years, I did some things where I would just stuff a radio in my backpack. If I was doing a short trip, I could get everything in just carry on baggage, radio gear and my clothes and stuff for a few days. But if it was a week or so, for my work, I was usually taking equipment anyway, because I was doing some training for some new IoT stuff we were rolling out. So I had to take like the actual IoT stuff, but then I also had to take samples of the equipment that it connected to. So I was traveling with these big giant Pelican cases anyway. So it was like, what's one more Pelican case with all my radio gear in it? So that's kind of how I started traveling when I was doing that stuff.
Right. Yeah, I've been trying to figure out because I'm going to Florida in February, and I'm going to probably be there most of the month. And I drove in April, and I activated all the way down and all the way back, which was great. But man, it's a long trip and it's a lot of miles. And I can actually fly to Florida cheaper than I can drive because I have a V8. And
oh yeah, jet fuel's cheaper than gasoline, huh?
So I've been looking at but I kind of really want to carry on my radio because I don't want a chance at getting lost. And I've been looking at different ways to do that. And one of my friends actually told me, he said, listen, take and put you a flare pistol in with your radio. He said, and then the air marshal will have to keep it with him because it's classified as a weapon. And I'm like, I don't know. That sounds like an awful lot of checks that I'm going to be going through doing something like that. They're going to be like, what is this guy really doing?
Oh, geez. Yeah. If you're traveling light enough that you can do carry on, it's really not bad. It's the way I used to do carry on so that I could activate a park. Because you get I forget how they define it now. You get like a bag plus a personal item. Mm-hmm. So my bag would be my backpack. So I would have all my actual like clothes and stuff, stuffed in my backpack for the couple days. And then I would usually like my coax and things like that I could like spool up would get stuffed in the backpack. And then I actually carried for my personal item, it was like a briefcase, slightly bigger than a briefcase size box. You can get them at like Harbor Freight and stuff. Right. And in that box, I just had stuffed some of that like pick and pluck foam stuff. So I would sit my, like the critical stuff, my radio, my power supply, and I think my tuner, I stuck in there, just kind of tucked into the pick and pluck in that little briefcase size thing. And that worked pretty well. The only trick when you're carrying on is you have to, because they've changed the size requirements, my radio, the 857D is what I would travel with. So my 857D was big enough that I had to take it out and send it through the X-ray thing on its own. But my power supply was small enough that it could stay in the box. So those are the kinds of things you learn over time, is which pieces of electronics are big enough that they have to go through on their own. And I never, every now and then you hear horror stories about traveling and flying and questions, but I never had any issues. I figure, I've been in airport lines and seeing musicians going through with all kinds of like DI boxes and pedals and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know, these airport security people see so much weird stuff. Like an electronic box with knobs on it is really nothing to them. So,
right. Yeah. I don't care. I'll put my clothes and check it and put it in the back. I don't care. Yeah. If it gets lost, I'll buy some new clothes when I head to Florida. I can still go to the park and activate as soon as I get there. Yeah.
You can buy shorts and a t-shirt. You can't buy a new radio.
That's right. I'll tell you, man, I was doing a Rove one time, and I was going for the 11 activations and for the award. And I got to number 9, and I was actually charging and running my radio through this campground's power because I was trying to, I'm trying to make all these, and yep. I've only got the one battery with me, and they got a power surge.
Oh.
And my radio is like 3 months old, and I fry the finals.
Oh, geez.
And I went 2 weeks without a radio, and then one of the viewers actually sent me one to use to keep going,
just to get you by,
to get me by. And those 2 weeks, I felt like a crackhead, just sitting there jonesing and shaking, like I'm not activating. What am I? And I could hunt, and I because I had my dad's old radio, which was a tank,
right?
And, I was still hunting, but I was just absolutely jonesing. But anyway. All that stuff, we totally got sidetracked. Before we start with Pota, I know everybody and my core people here know who you are, but maybe they don't know what got you into ham radio. Tell us a little bit about what got you started into ham radio.
Yeah, so my background, so N3VEM, Vance is my name. If there's anybody who doesn't know or can't see the little flag banner up there. But yeah, I had my.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there.
You kicked me out. That's all right. It was like the hook, from behind the curtain pulling me back. Yeah, but yeah, I got my first exposure to ham radio actually when I don't know exactly how old I was. I was like a preteen, basically. My dad had ham radio license when he was in tech school. He did, electronics tech school, and he was an electronics technician for his whole life. So he did ham radio because all of his buddies were doing ham radio. But he had actually gotten out of it. But then when I was starting to get, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there, he actually dug out some of his old radio books and was like, hey, this was something I was into when I was a teenager. Like, if you, why don't you look into it and let me know if you're interested. So I had actually started looking at his books and started taking practice tests, and somebody that he knew had old like Morse code learning software. So it was, it was like the big, 5 1/4, like the actual floppy disks that, I would stick in and it would flash a letter on the screen. But then I never carried through with it. So I started studying, started learning, and then got distracted with other stuff that teenagers got distracted with, and then never actually picked it up then. Went on with life, school, work, all that kind of stuff. And when I was, I guess, right around 30 something, I don't remember exactly, my job changed for work. And I took a field supervisor role where I covered a lot of territory. You and I actually were talking about this earlier this evening. So I was driving all over Pennsylvania, Western Maryland, and Virginia for my work. And it was a lot of time on the road. Radio stations were getting boring. So I bought a CB and threw in my work truck. Thought, yeah, I'll listen to the CB. I'll talk with, truckers and stuff while I'm driving around. And if any of you aren't on CB, like, it's still semi-active when you're on the highway, but there's not much activity like there used to be. It's, pretty quiet, unless there's like an accident, and then everybody starts talking about, the accident. That's pretty much the only activity. So after that, then I was like, oh, maybe I should look into that ham radio stuff again that my dad had shown me. So basically I just kind of decided, hey, I'm going to actually do this and learn it and get the license so I can throw gear in my car. Which is funny because when I was a kid and was learning it, I remember thinking like, well, who would want to do ham radio like in their car? Because it was like mobile ham radio was around then, but it was fairly novel. But I didn't even have a car yet. I was 12. I was like, why would you want to do ham radio in your car? Like, you want a real radio that you have on your desk. But then, of course, when I was older and actually got into it, I was traveling for work all the time. So I bought default gear, or bought portable gear by default because that's what I wanted to do. Shortly thereafter, the ARRL had their, 2016 National Parks on the Air event, and I had portable gear. I was traveling for work anyway. I was like, this is awesome. I'll take a work trip, go activate a park. And so that's kind of how I got into really everything. It's how I got into ham radio. It's how I got my exposure to activating in parks. And then when that 2016 event was ending and Jason was getting Pota up and running to kind of continue it for the folks that were having fun with it, he reached out to, a bunch of people and said like, hey, does anybody want to help me try to at least get a basic database and stuff set up for this stuff? And, I was naive and fresh off my information systems degree and said, yeah, I'll help. And here we are.
And all your time later, here you are. Yeah. Well, we appreciate what you do. I know you do a lot for Pota, and here a couple of live streams ago, I actually did it was for Thanksgiving. I did what am I thankful for, and I brought in Steve, one of your Pota coordinators that does the logs and stuff for us, and did a show all about that, and it was really cool. So we definitely appreciate it, and it's just like the hunters. The hunters, they're with, especially right now, the bands are horrible, and I noticed that when I look at the spotting page on late shift, there's 4 or 5 maybe where there used to be 11, 12, and they're real thankful. Like, thanks for being out there for late shift tonight. We appreciate it. And I'm sitting there thinking like, no, thanks for hunting me, because I got to get these contacts when I'm out here. It's 28 degrees. If I come out here and I fail this park, I'm going to be aggravated.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and where you are too, it's you get in the middle of wintertime and you're in doing a late shift. It's cold, it's dark, you're like, out in the middle of nowhere. Like that's like a commitment.
Yeah, it's really crazy because when I do Big Ugly Wildlife Management, and I'm actually working on a kilo there, and so well, I'm working on a kilo and a repeat offender. But when I do that park, I actually go up the back way and go drive up this old dirt road up the mountain, and I actually go on top of the mountain,
Okay.
and it is absolutely pitch black. I mean, you can't see nothing up there. And I'm sitting there, and doing photo away, 9mm sitting right beside the radio.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever, guys, you want, don't mess with me. I'm trying to photo here.
Nice.
But it's funny you mentioned your dad, because my dad was a big reason why I got into ham radio, and that's why I got my tech license. And then I hooked up his radio one day, and I happened to just be dialing through. I had no intention to get my general. I did my tech just to honor him, and I was just scrolling through, and I ran across a Pota activation, and I sat and listened, and I got off the radio, and I went and got on YouTube, and I started watching YouTube videos, and I'm like, this is it, man. I want to do this. I gotta get my general. So I start studying for my general, and I start hunting as soon as I get my general. I'm not satisfied. I got to get a new radio. I got to do that. And it's crazy. But the reason why I'm glad you said this, because I eventually plan on taking my dad's call sign. It's actually still active right now, so I'm not in a real big hurry to do it. I can get his death certificate and get it. But when I do that, I know it just stuff transfers over, but like people who's working, like, say, operator to operator, say somebody's got 20 contacts with KE8PZN, and I become WD8KGO. Do they still have 20 contacts with me? And the next, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The without getting like too into the weeds in like the architecture stuff in the database, technically when you submit logs and we load logs, we actually are giving credit to like you as the person, not to your call sign. So we actually use the call signs, and we have like lookup tables of like call signs and dates of call signs back to users to do all this stuff. But essentially, we're actually assigning the credit to users. So as long as in your profile on Pota.app, you have all the various call signs with the proper dates, that you've had them for in your profile, we actually use that information to map all of the credit back to the user. So yeah, when you get your dad's call sign, you just, end date your current call sign, add his call sign or your new call sign with a start date, and just keep going, and all the credit just kind of carries right over. So like all of your awards and stuff, we put whatever you flag as like, hey, this is my primary call sign. That's what we put on the awards for display purposes, but it's the accumulation. It's actually the accumulation of all of your contacts with all of your call signs that you're getting credit for. Yep.
Awesome. Because, I knew that I kept my awards and stuff. I checked into that and stuff already. But it dawned on me today, because when I was doing my activation, and there's a certain guy, and he's working. I've got several people who's working on operator, and several that have them with me. But, and that got me to thinking. I was like, what about these people that's work? And so I was like, you know what? I'll find out tonight.
Yep.
All right. So let's get started on 2022. First things first, we got the New Year's week event.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the first like kind of official thing for Pota and New Year's is that New Year's certificate. So that's basically the first full week of each year. It's basically just hey, get out in the new year, make some contacts, and it's It's kind of like a participation certificate. As long as you do one activation or hunt one park, you get either the activator or the hunter certificate for being active in the new year. So that's kind of a fun one, just to drive activity. Especially to you get to see who the brave operators are, because the Florida folks, they've got it easy year round. They can sit on the beach in their shorts and t-shirts whenever they want. But yeah, those of us in the Northeast, like it takes some cojones to decide to head out into the woods in January. So it's a fun way to get out there. The big winter event outside of Pota obviously is the winter field day. So kind of the New Year's event, our winter event, those things all kind of lead up to before winter field day. So they're great ways too, just to practice getting out when it's cold. If you're planning on doing like a big thing for winter field day too. So yeah, that's the New Year's is the first one. Yep.
Absolutely. And, I feel like a lot of people, should be out practicing, a little bit before the winter field day, because, everybody practices their guts out before, summer field day. But, if you're going to do winter field day, you might as well make sure your gear is working if you're not already an activator.
Yep. So, yeah, and if you like activating in New Year's when it's, when it can be cold, I think the tips I would have when I do cold weather activating, I have one of those little buddy propane heaters. A lot of people have those. That's what I use to kind of keep the edge off when it's cold. And just if you're camping out overnight, just a super warm sleeping bag. The caution I give everybody is, please, if you do your activating, like using a little buddy heater, like if you have it right in your tent with you to keep you warm, fine, so be it. But please, please, please don't go to sleep with a propane heater running in your tent. Just buy a really warm sleeping bag.
Nah, definitely don't want to do that for sure. Yeah, I've been thinking about getting one of those like ice fishing huts.
Okay.
And getting me a little buddy heater, and I feel like I would just be comfortable at any temperature pretty much to activate. Because I'm going out now, when it's like 28. So
yep.
I know Plasma Storm said it did get cold in Florida 3 years ago. It got 10 to 20 degrees, Mark. It got in the 20 degrees mark, Plasma, in November here. So.
Yep.
And I'm not even near the coldest state. There's a lot of Canadians up there in the chat right now that can probably tell you real quick about being cold. Yeah.
Well, and some of those, kind of another, since we're talking 2022 and stuff that's upcoming, one of the things, and this is, maybe a little bit of letting the cat out of the bag, but that's all right. It's fun to do every now and then. One of the code things that I'm working on right now in the background is we are going to be adding just like we have worked all states and hunted all states here over the next couple months. I'm building the logic for it right now. We will also have worked all provinces and hunted all provinces. So maybe some of the Canadian folks will get out there when it's nice and cold and head up to some of those northern provinces and send us pictures of the 12-foot deep snow banks that they're activating from.
Yeah. So they tell me it's impossible to activate all of Ontario in that area, the Providence. So there's just way too many parks. And it almost makes me want to move to Canada,
just to try it.
I'm your Huckleberry, but there's enough of them up there, I guess. We'll leave it to one of them. But I know somebody's going to ask if they haven't already. So is the New Year's event, is it kind of like the Support Your Parks? You can only get it as a activator or a hunter, or?
Yeah, so that one is the certificate, like the participation certificate. Yeah, it's basically one as an activator and one as a hunter. So it's just no, you can get both. You know
Oh,
what
you
I
can
mean?
get both.
Yeah. And technically for support your parks, you can get both too. So you can get both the activator cert and the hunter cert for support your parks. There had been a glitch in those, and that got fixed up. Yeah. Actually, we were looking at logs of activity. So I want to say in November is when the spike, after I fixed it, and the spike of that stuff started reprocessing. So,
Okay.
so yeah, if anybody is missing either of those, if you didn't already have it pop up, it should pop up very soon. And if it doesn't, just shoot a ticket to help@parksontheair.com and we'll figure it out, because most of those that were missing have since generated and gone out. So,
Oh, well, then I guess I got some hunter awards coming to me.
yep.
I always get the activator ones. That's my priority. Matter of fact, I will have my New Year's one in the first hour. It won't even technically be New Year's yet, but UTC it'll be New Year's, and I'll have that sucker. All right. So then after that, even bigger event, we got the winter support your park. So what kind of numbers are you kind of expecting for the winter one?
You know what? It's like the growth in the last 18 months has just completely flabbergasted me. So the winter event is obviously usually the smallest because it's cold and a lot of people just like to stay home. But the growth has been so exponential and actually I think November was the first month where we saw a dip from the prior month in the last several months. The numbers of contacts made each month has just gone up and up and up and up. And in November, we dropped from I think in October, there was 360,000. And in November, there was 310,000. So still giant numbers. But so it'll be interesting to see how that growth carries through the winter months when activity tends to slow. If I had to take a wild guess, I would say that the winter event could end up being as big as our spring events have been in the past. It'll be interesting to see for sure. Past years it was usually a few thousand contacts and stuff like that. But here, the last couple, the summer support your parks, the fall support your parks, we were in thousands of activators out at thousands of parks. So it'll be interesting to see if just as many people brave the cold weather for the winter event.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you're gonna have a way more than you had last year, because the trend is, I'm constantly getting, because park to parks, and I'm constantly getting new people. I'm like, I don't remember ever working this guy before. And all of a sudden now he's working me all the time. So, there's a lot of people getting out there, and I love it. And, the hunters I get more and more hunters. It's just crazy how much, it's growing and stuff like that. And I'll tell everybody, I tell them all the time, I'm like, if you haven't tried Pota, you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah.
Even if you're the guy that just, absolutely, I'm not going out and being part of, we'll sit at home and try hunting, because you're guaranteed to find parks,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny. It used to, when we were first starting and it was small, you had to purposefully look for the Pota stations. And now, on any given day, I can usually sit down and just spin the dial across 20 or 40 and find a Pota station by accident without even looking at the spotter. Heck, even I think it was this morning, I made a contact with Don Smoke Signals, because I saw he had actually posted on Twitter that he was out, and I was like, oh, if Don's out in the park, I'll go. I'll make sure I go work Don before I get too far into my work day. And it was I turned the radio on, and I was literally on the frequency that he was on. I was like, what are the odds that, like, of all the bands that I happened to turn my radio on and my radio was on 40 and he was on 40, and then within 40, what are the odds that when I turn my radio on, I'm on 7.248, and that's exactly where Don is parked. Like, I was like, oh, this contact was meant to be today.
That's happened to me before, and I mean, I'll tell you a really funny story. I was actually doing my kilo activation of Laurel Lake wildlife management area, and it was a kilo and a repeat offender, and I was filming it. Well, I hadn't even got to filming it yet. You know, I'm just looking for a frequency, and I say, is this frequency in use? Is this frequency in use? Kilo Echo 8 Papa Zulu November, is this frequency in use? And all of a sudden, some guy calls and he's like, "What park you in, James?" And I'm like, "What?" So I make the contact, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna spot myself now." And I pick up my phone, and before I even do that, James Linden, that's in the chat right now, says, "Park to park." And I'm like, how are you guys doing this? I'm not even spotted. And I even told him, I said, listen, I'm filming a kilo and you're not even in the video because you guys are on me before I can even do it. So I'm
nice.
Like, but I think I made 3 contacts right off the bat before I put the spot in. So I just started the camera and then I started my spot.
Nice.
Crazy stuff. But I mean, you're right. You don't have, I mean, there's been plenty of places I haven't spotted. I just start calling and I'll get spotted quickly. It's crazy like that.
Yep. Yeah. Looking, and it'll be interesting to see in January, looking at numbers. So, and this isn't just specific to the Support Your Parks event, but just in January, 2 Januaries ago, all month. So in 2020, all month, there was a little over 50,000 QSOs. This past January, there was little over 171,000 QSOs. So in January, the numbers doubled from one year to the next. And then since January of this year, that the numbers have rocketed. So it wouldn't surprise me if we still end up with, somewhere between 10 and 20,000 contacts on the January Support Your Parks weekend, which would be much bigger than we've generally seen during that event in the winter. So yeah, it'll be a fun one. It'll be interesting for sure.
That's for sure. Well, I mean, just looking at the chat, there's an awful lot of activators that I know will be out there in January for sure. There are some people you can just absolutely count on. But I'll tell you what. So I know we talked about this before the video started. But I did want to bring this up. So with January coming up, a lot of people that follow the numbers and stuff like that, we've got the activators that are always looking where they're at in that little lineup there. Yeah, I know there's quite a few of us that do it, and I got to thinking, I was like, I've worked every park in West Virginia, and basically that unique park is how you get ranked up there, and I'm like, how am I going to get that many unique parks? Because I'm going to have to go to state. So I ask you about it, and you want to tell everybody how that works with the stats.
Yep. Yeah. When you look at the leaderboards, it's basically, so if you pick all time, it's the unique parks that you've ever activated. But if you pick a specific year, it is grouped by that year. So if you have 10 parks near you and you activated those 10 parks in 2020 or 2021, boy, wow, am I off? If you activated those 10 parks in 2021, when 2022 rolls over again, you activate those 10 parks again. When you look at 2022, those are 10 unique parks in 2022. So if you're looking at just a year's stats, you would see those 10. But if you then look all time, those 10 would just be counted once when you look at all the years summed together. And technically on that leaderboard, and this is one of the things that, like, we eventually it's changed a number of times, and we kind of got to a point where like, well, this is the way it is right now, so this is just how we're leaving it. But the leaderboards, I think that the default sort does sort by number of parks, but you can click on any of those column headers. So if you want to see it by activations or by total QSOs instead, you could just click on the column headers. Obviously there's some people that think the default sort should be activations, and the people who have lots of QSOs think the default sort should be QSOs. So right now the default sort is on the that number of unique parks, but you can look at it however you want. If sorting it a different way puts you higher on the list and that's your bag, you can certainly do that.
Well, see, that doesn't help me at all, because I'm sure I can manipulate that number around and be a lot higher on that list. I want to know what Pota thinks.
Yeah, so there's no official Pota opinion. My personal opinion, I actually always liked doing the default sorting by number of activations instead of number of parks. But that's only because my history with portable park activation is the 2016 ARRL event. And the way they scored that event was by activations, not by number of parks. So that's kind of what just got stuck in my brain first. But so that's, personally, when I look at that, I often click on the activations thing. But yeah, when you and I talked about it and I pulled up the leaderboard, I realized that was the first time I've actually looked at the leaderboard in probably a month or more. Because it's, I'm mostly a hunter at this point and just kind of casual, like, hey, there's a park. So I'm not a numbers chaser like some folks are.
Right. And I agree with you on the activation thing, and I often thought that. I was like, why don't they rank these by activations? Because, I mean, for example, like me, I finished West Virginia on November the 8th, and since then, I did go to Virginia this weekend, because you guys popped one in on me after I haven't even told my crew here this. After I finished all West Virginia parks, they added a new one after I got the award, and nothing being said, as soon as I seen it was added, I went out and activated it. But it was not an all-time new one, because it's in one of those several state things, and it just barely comes through the corner of West Virginia. But it was like 24 miles from another park in Virginia, and I'm like, I'm going to Virginia too. So,
yeah.
But
oh boy.
But I agree on the activation thing.
Yeah.
That would be my way of thinking it. But
yeah, it's just one of those things that that over the years, as we've updated the website, sometimes it got changed on purpose and sometimes it got changed by mistake. When we moved from one platform to another, or we updated some queries in the background and said, whoops, we accidentally changed the default sort. So every time it has changed, like, it's one of those things that, like, half of the crowd complains and half of the crowd says, yes, this is the way it should be. So at this point, we just kind of let it sit there, and we said, well, you know what, let's just make the columns sortable so people can click and see however they want to see it.
So you guys did like you guys kept a lot of different stats on the summer support on the plaque weekend this last time. And you guys had it broken down too by state and stuff like that. Is that going to go somewhere? I mean, are you guys going to start?
I'm not sure. So the stuff the stats that we put together for that event, we actually use some separate data analytics tools. So my day job is in data analytics. So I use, for anybody who's familiar, I do a lot of work in Microsoft Power BI as, the thing that brings home the bacon. So for that event, I actually extract the data from our database, dump it into some flat files that I just suck into Power BI so that I can do all those fun visuals and stuff for the event. There's not any like immediate plans to make those like permanent features on the website. but as you know, as we go and as we build out some stuff, it's the type of stuff that might always, might get done in the future, but right now there's no plans for it. The main things we're working on right now are, we have a bunch of kind of behind the scenes administrative stuff. So, we did, however many months ago it was now, 2-3 months ago, when we did the big transition over to Pota.app, the not super secret, but the kind of the unknown secret is that transition was actually only all of the user facing stuff. All of the administrative consoles, so like where the call area managers do their uploading, where Jason goes in to approve awards, like all of that like administrative stuff is actually still on the old website. So that's right now you're not seeing as much activity on the front end, because now we're trying to bring the rest of that back end stuff over so that all of our administrators can also basically just live in Pota.app and let us permanently shut down the old site. So we have a lot of work going on with that stuff that's behind the scenes. And then the main thing that is in active development right now that's user facing is the log, like the self-uploading, we'll call it. Now it's not fully self-uploading. It's basically it's an interface. One of the folks on the team, Jeremy, has been playing around with this, and I've gotten to play with where it is right now. But it's a very, it looks just like the rest of Pota.app. You get a standard file upload dialog. You can actually upload multiple logs at a time in it the way he has it right now. It runs through the files. It gives you a feedback and says like, hey, here's the problems with your log. And then initially those are going to just then hit a queue for folks to approve. And after we go through some testing with those, then we'll start opening it up. But we're still in the development phases of that. So that's probably the next like user facing thing that folks will see in 2022. Unless you happen to be an administrator, then you'll start seeing some of this admin console stuff too. But obviously there's, just the call area managers and the tech admin are the only people that'll see those other changes. So.
Right. And so when we do start self-uploading, will it still be everything the same? You still just like say, I go out and I do Kilo 1810 tonight, and then at 00 UTC, I just go ahead and stay and do the second activation. You just do one log, and the computer will automatically, just like it does now.
Yeah. All that stuff will be the same. It'll actually be a little bit nicer too, because right now, because the email logs in, the very specific file naming convention that we ask people to follow, that's really just to make it easy for the call area managers to keep all of these logs straight in their email. Once we go to self-uploading, you have your own log, you upload your own log, you can name it, Purple Monkey Socks and upload it. We won't care. You dump a file and we take the stuff out of the file. So there's some things for the self-uploader will be nice, because you don't have to worry about a file naming format and stuff like that, because you upload the file and we'll just copy it and rename it to whatever we want it for storage. So there'll be some nice things too with that. Plus, getting the instant feedback when you're doing self-uploading, you'll get the instant feedback like, hey, these 7 contacts were dupes, or hey, there's a problem with this one. Like you'll know right away. You won't have to wait to get that feedback. So yeah.
I mean, is that a major problem? Like when somebody sends into dupes for the people that does it?
No, it just when you do the upload, it's really like rough looking right now, but it basically just gives them a message that says like, hey, we processed the log. There was 53 QSOs in it. 12 of them weren't inserted because they were duplicates. So it's pretty straightforward. There's, one of the other, like, I wouldn't call it a dirty secret, but like, if there have been cases where somebody, accidentally only sent part of a log and they need to like resend a log with additional QSOs added to it, technically you can just send the same log over again, and if you only added 2 QSOs to the same log, it'll see that all but 2 are dupes and just drop those out and then stick the 2 new ones in. But that's all, kind of if you guys saw the console that the users use, it's very like, I wouldn't say it's like old like AS400 stuff. It's not like a green screen with text, but it's definitely not a fancy interface that the call managers use right now.
Right. And I'm normally pretty good. I bought dupes and stuff because, really, if you're paying attention to your screen, it comes up that you've already logged them. Now, of course, when I'm doing the late shift or other bands or something, I have to really pay attention up there. Did I work him on this band, or did I work him prior to that? But there's some where I'm working on the N1CC award. There's sometimes I might have you in there 3 or 4 times, but
yeah.
So I do have one question about awards. When people get their operator to operator, how come the activator doesn't get that award?
I don't really have a good reason other than, when the award was kind of proposed and designed and they said, hey, Vance, build this award. It was designed as a hunter. Really the idea. So some of these awards were, it's kind of like carrot and stick type stuff. There's, when we go back to, early on when if you try to do an activation on a Monday, you might not have any luck. Now it doesn't matter. You can go any day of the week you want. But early on, when there wasn't as much activity, some of the awards we came up, when I say we, I didn't think of any of these. Basically, Jason worked with folks and then said, hey, Vance, this is what we thought of. Make it happen. But and I wish I could remember who thought of that one. It might have been Kurt, or I'm pretty sure it was one of the VE folks that had the idea for that operator to operator award. And really the impetus behind that one was, let's try to encourage hunters to contact the same activators over and over again, so that when activators are trying to get like the repeat offender awards and stuff like that, we basically wanted there to be some kind of motivation so that as a hunter, you wouldn't go, oh, I've already worked Joe in that park, I'm not going to bother. Like we said, well, hey, let's make an award so that if you work Joe a whole bunch of times, there's some incentive to do it. So that's really where that one came from. It was to try to incentivize hunters to keep hunting so that activators could work on some of those like repeat offender awards and stuff like that. So
that's understandable. I do understand that. I worried about that at first when I was like, I want to get this repeat offender award. I'm like, but who's going to hunt me? They've all got me at this park, but nah, it ain't a problem no more.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's having so much fun. Like, as long as it's not a dupe in that day, I think we're all trying to make the contact. So,
because I've worked them all around me, but there's a group of maybe 10 that I'm just constantly, because I activate 1 to 2 parks every day,
yep.
After work. And when I say 2 parks, it might be the same park 2 times because,
right.
But I do it every day, and they don't care. They'll hunt you if I went to the same park 10 days straight and did it doubled every day. They'd hunt every one of them. They wouldn't care.
It's funny you mentioned something that about being out regularly, and I'm actually quickly looking at my my top secret data dashboard. Because I think you are near the top of this list somewhere. Yeah, so I had a thought. So this is, since we're talking about 2022 upcoming, I kind of threw a chart together for myself so I can track this. So it won't be on the website, but I'll probably talk about it through 2022 as I do those updates and stuff like that.
Right.
Because I was kind of curious at one point. I'm like, I wonder if if there's anybody who has actually activated a park every single day all year long. So it doesn't look like there there isn't anybody who managed to do an activation every single day. There's a couple folks who are, very close. K4NYM, K9ZIE, KN4SWS, KB3WAV, K7CAR. But you're actually in that list in the top. I think you're at the top 10 or 15. I see your call sign in there too.
And I probably would be higher, but I didn't start until March.
Okay. Well, so there you go. That's where you missed out, was your January and February. So there's might be like an informal challenge. We'll have to talk about if maybe the YouTube bunch wants to push the idea of the YouTube bunch challenge to activate a park every day and see who can do it and talk about it.
Hey, we do. Listen, I was on Ham Radio Clubhouse, and Molson on there. He just recently did his first activation.
Okay.
He was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he still is or not, but he got 146 contacts, which it's really good.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, this is going to be easy to get a kilo, and I'm telling him, it doesn't always happen like that. You won't always get 146. Oh, I think I can do it. I was like, well, I mean, if that's the case, you would get it in 7 activations. He's like, yeah, I can do that. And I was like, all right. If you can do a kilo in 7 activations, I'll do a kilo in a weekend. And so now me and him have this little challenge here. If he gets his kilo, and really it's just to push him to get to he don't realize it, but I'm just pushing him to get out to the park.
Yep.
seven more times, and then he's hooked by this point.
Yep.
And all I have to do is try to get a kilo in a weekend, and that's something I would do anyway.
Yep. So yeah, that might be that's probably a stat that I'm going to keep my eyes on through 2022 to see if anybody manages to activate or hunt every single day. There's
now activate. If it was activate and hunt, I could do it easily.
Yeah. So yeah, and what I was looking at, I actually just grabbed myself two charts to look at for this past year because I was curious. So I have one that's just activations. So just activating, there's nobody that will have done an activation every day. Just hunting, there's probably, and again with log delays, I can't say exactly until a week or so after the year ends. But right now it looks like there's 8, 9, 10. There's 10 or 12 people that that might have hunted a park every single day. Pending logs coming in, because however far we are into the year, I think we're 350-ish days into the year, and I see a number of people that have hunted, 348, 349 days that they've made contacts. So some of that is just, log delay processing. So I think there'll be some that hunted a park every day, but the activating will be the real challenge.
Maybe it's a Hotel Alpha, X-Ray Lima Sierra, India Charlie Papa. Them 3 that I would think that's probably in your top there.
Yep. Yeah. The ones that I'm seeing is it's the people you would expect from the hunters that you hear all the time as an activator. So yeah, N5HA, KW2DX, Whiskey 9 Alpha Victor, K9 ICP, KO4SB, VE3LDT. I mean, these are call signs that I think we all have memorized at this point, because when you're activating, they're the ones you hear.
And I can pick them out of a pile up. It doesn't matter if their signal is the strongest or not. They could be down in there. 10 people could be higher, and I will pick that call sign because I know it. I hear it.
Yep.
I hear it in my sleep.
Yep.
And if you don't get the Hotel Alpha train, there's actually 3 Hotel Alphas that get me almost every day. 2 of them is almost a guaranteed, and but yeah, if you don't get the Hotel Alpha train, you don't know what to do, man.
Yep. Yeah, I see KY4IF Plasma Storm asked about in those numbers I was looking at, if activating the same park every day counts. And with the way I pulled this data, it does. So I was just curious to see how many days out of the year people were active. So if you go to the same park every day, you know, more power to you. Yep.
Hey, you know, at least you're activating is all I can say. I've got, like I said, I've got about 10 of them that I sort of split it out now that, you know, you can pretty much, but all of them I'm just working on awards in, you know, kilos and repeated, like kilo 1810, I'm getting ready to get a fishing hole in it, my next activation. That's the only reason it hasn't been done on night shifts, because the filming ain't as good on night shifts. I gotta wait till the weekend. And it's Vance's fault that the video did not come out last weekend, because I had planned on doing that activation last weekend, and that I happened to see that you guys added that new park on me.
You had to go.
Nope, I gotta go. See you.
Oh,
all right, so we're getting ready to start winding it down a little bit. Anything else big that we need to know about coming up in 2022?
Yeah, so in 2022, the only other thing, you know, the kind of the reminder that the thing that will be new for our summer Support Your Parks event in 2022 is we are going to have those 3 DX plaques. So there's going to be DX Region 1, DX Region 2, and DX Region 3 for activators. So those will be new plaques. So that should be fun. We might see a bunch of new DX activity. We're doing a lot of administrative work to support the DX community in Pota. So I think we'll see more and more, you know, DX countries joining. We're actually building some of that behind the scenes stuff. We're building some administrative consoles, so that the people that are managing the other countries can more easily add the parks in their own countries without us having to manually do it for them and stuff. So I think we'll see some DX growth in 2022. And yeah, other than that, like, I'm really just excited to see what happens with Pota in the next year. You know, have we reached a leveling off point in our activity? Or are we going to continue to grow as wildly as we have in the last couple of years? You know, that's really what I'm looking forward to is just to see how much activity we have during the next upcoming year.
I definitely hope it keeps growing, because, you know, I mean, I'm adventure radio. Anything adventurous I'll do, but, you know, Pota's a big part of what I do. So definitely. Amateur Radio on the Air said, looking at the website, there are very few parks in the UK that's on there. Is that something that's going to be changing soon?
I don't know. I'd have to check with, I forget who the UK person is. I don't know what he's got in his queue for parks for adding. But they're, you know, it's definitely one that's in the program. And with some of the stuff that we've been building, you know, the UK, anybody that already has parks in the system, it'll be easier for that country administrator to, you know, add their parks and stuff like that pretty shortly here. So if you're in a country that already has parks, but there's not a lot, I would imagine that over the next couple of months, you'll start to see more parks popping up in those countries as we get those countries' administrators turned on in their kind of like self park administration stuff that we're building for them. So,
all right. If any more questions, guys, before we wrap it up? I think we've covered most of everything. I know we've covered all of my questions anyway. Well, dude, we really appreciate you coming on, and we appreciate the updates. You know, I look forward to the update every month. You know, one day it's going to get cold in Florida, and I'm actually going to beat some of them guys. But like, I don't know. I don't know that Justin can be beat and support your parks. It's just
yeah. For the roving, I don't know. Well, so I would. I mean, I don't think anybody has. I don't know if anybody has sat down and looked at it. I think somebody who was like really motivated in like the greater DC metro area might be able to do it, because
I
up here
I looked at DC.
Yeah, up here we have. Now I'm in Pennsylvania, so I'm like 3 hours north of Washington D.C. But it's a day trip for me. Obviously to get to D.C. But like D.C. and the area around D.C., there are a lot of parks very close. So I won't say for sure, but I would be willing to guess that somebody very motivated in like this Northeast region might be able to give Justin a run for his money. We'll have to see if anybody has a go at it. Carrie and Ray, I bet Carrie and Ray could do it if they really put their mind to it, but we'll see.
Hey, listen, she's one that's really motivated. She's always out there like constantly, and Ray is too, but she's
driving force there. Yeah.
Yeah, she is. I had them both on the show, and like, she's something. I'll give her that. I hope to give her more of a better run this year coming up. Like I said, I started in March, and they had a big jump on me to start. So, but support your parks. My goal for support your parks is finish in the top 5 this year. So we'll see. We'll see if I can do it. All right.
Very cool.
Guys, we're going to wrap it up. I appreciate everybody coming to watch tonight, and make sure and if you talk to any volunteer and that does anything for Parks on There, make sure and thank them, because these guys volunteer and do this so we can get out there and have fun. I can guarantee you it's a lot of work, because just like with YouTube, it's a lot of work. People don't understand. They think you just take a camera and film and it's over with. I'm constantly working on something for YouTube. It's a never-ending thing, and I know it's like that with you guys as well, because Parks on the Air, it's big. I mean, I couldn't imagine how many logs just and there's several of you that do the logs, but they just come in a month. It's just insane. So
yeah, it's big numbers of logs each month for sure. Thousands. I actually just graphed this for the call area managers yesterday. So yeah, we're again, the number of logs coming in, it's in the thousands every month. So those guys are busy for sure.
Well, we definitely appreciate it for sure. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. I do have a Pota video that's coming out tomorrow. My Patreons have watched it for 3 or 4 days now. It is Lost River State Park. It is the last park I did in West Virginia. And make sure and stay to the end of the video, because the view is definitely worth it. Thank you guys for coming out, and I appreciate you. 73, guys.
73, everybody.